want to have great relationships, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to have a great social life as well as work. It just didn't really work out very well. So this video is going to be pretty transparent, going over a few mistakes that I made in 2021 and how I plan to fix it essentially. Because I'll be honest, I wasn't winning like I wanted to in 2021 looking back, and purely it was out of my own laziness, okay? And work ethic, actually. That's a better way to label it. I didn't feel like I hit my potential in 2021 from a business standpoint because of my work ethic. And looking back, the bottleneck that I mainly had was basically just in my own labor, right? I would work super hard in sprints and then basically work to a point where I'm comfortable and then just relax and wait for things to break. And then work really hard again to a point where I'm more comfortable and then just again relax and wait for things to break. Another huge mistake that I made was a pretty beginner mistake actually, of trying to pick the best opportunity vehicle. And in doing so, I was almost paralyzed into not taking any action because I just wasn't sure kind of like which road to go down, right? And the thing is, you might be thinking, hey, Boyan, that's a f***ing stupid mistake, right? And you'd be totally right, except as you do more and put yourself more out there, more doors open up to you, and these doors are more attractive than the original doors that you were kind of like being shown, right? So to give you an idea of when I first started back in like 2020, for example, when I had no track record, or late 2019, right? Or January 2020, I had no track record built for myself. I barely knew f***all, and I could not distinguish a door from a window, right? And what happened was the opportunities I was kind of being thrown were fucking terrible, right? They were terrible opportunity vehicles, borderline scams like MLMs and on those lines. However, as I did more, the opportunities that I got thrown were basically just like really quick and fairly straightforward, like multi-5-figure opportunities. And what happened was I started questioning my original opportunity vehicle, which is my agency, okay? And in doing so, I stopped taking aggressive action in what I was currently doing, which is working on my agency. And that's why also at one point I stopped posting YouTube videos consistently because I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in email marketing anymore, quite frankly, right? However, after many months of contemplating on something along on this issue, I just kind of realized you can't really 5-figure, like 10,000 your way to 100 million or billions, right? Like you just can't like stack 5 figures on 5 figures on 5 figures and expect to become a multi-billionaire or like at least in the hundreds of millions, right? But it took me a really long time to internalize. So this video is going to be basically a pretty raw one in terms of me going over the mistakes and sharing what I learned from them, and also my solutions that I have going forward. I know probably not as many people on YouTube talk about like their mistakes as much, but I just like being transparent, and I like kind of being an open book, and I'm very committed to telling the truth and basically just sharing my actual perspective on how things are, right? So yeah, last year I did not hit my financial goals of making £500,000 net profit. In fact, I wasn't even close, I'll be honest. I think $500,000 was maybe a bit of a stretch given my work capacity, like my ability to output essentially, right? $500,000 might have been a bit of a stretch. However, I feel like I could have at least hit in the like 300,000-400,000 ish mark, right? Instead, I landed somewhere around like the halfway mark, right? Of like 300,000. And because I really don't want to be like that again, so far for the past kind of like a month and a half, I've been absolutely working my ass off, because I know that taking aggressive action is so much better than just kind of like being stuck in limbo in terms of indecision, right? Making a decision is often, or like taking a action is often going to be better for you in the long run if you just compound that piece of action than inaction. That's at least my perspective. I think in the future that's probably going to change as I build kind of like more leverage, and then it becomes kind of like picking the right opportunity to kind of like pursue, right? But for now, I'm pretty sure taking the most aggressive and like kind of like painful action is probably going to be the right way forward. And that's how I'm going to live my life this year. So the thing that I really want to increase this year is my capacity in myself to handle intensity in terms of work and also volume of work, right? I want to increase it at the same time because from what I've heard, it yields like much better returns than if you kind of like progressively overload everything. The example that I have to give to that to kind of like maybe crystallize it and make it more visualizable for you guys. One of the guys I follow on meditation, he on YouTube, he says that, for example, if you meditate 10 sessions or each around kind of like 10 minutes long, right? It doesn't beat how deep you can go in a quality 60-minute meditation session. Like you just can't go as deep. And for me personally, I found this to kind of be a recurring pattern in my life. Like it's the same, it has been the same for me in terms of working out. Also, like I find that I make a ton of gains between 2 to 3 months of the year, and then just kind of like cruise along and kind of maintain for the rest and just slowly sink back to my chubby self, right? So I find that to be the same with gains. I also find that's kind of the same with work. Like I find that most of my progress is made between the months of kind of like January all the way up to until kind of June time, and then from June to August I'm working, but I'm like semi-working kind of thing. Last year I spent like a month in Madeira doing fuck all, I'll be honest. This year I'll probably live in kind of like the same pattern, right? However, during the month of January to June last year, I was kind of like in my trying to strike a work-life balance phase of like, I want to be healthy, I want to have great relationships, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to have a great social life as well as work. It just didn't really work out very well, right? Like I ended up having a semi-good social life, I ended up having semi-good relationships, and my work was good, but it wasn't like where it could have been, right? If I just put all of my energy and focus and attention into one of those baskets, I feel like I would have thrived a lot more. And that's why I'm going to be increasing intensity and volume in terms of work from now until about kind of like summertime. Because another thing that I kind of realized was, for me, I'm just not a person of moderation, right? I have never been a person of moderation. So now rather than trying to fight it, I'm trying to like lean into it a bit more. So for example, before, right, it would get to around 6, 7 p.m. at night and I would just stop working. And I would be trying to like, get 8 hours of sleep every single day, tracking it religiously and BS along those lines, right? Whereas now I'm literally sometimes working until 10 p.m. and then waking up at 6 a.m. to do it all over again. And I actually find my energy levels to be better, right? I mean, right now it's 8:30 at night. I used to never dream of recording a YouTube video at 8:30 at night just because I would place like a mental constraint around my energy level where I'm like, you're gonna be tired after kind of like 6 p.m., right? Which is just not the case. If I really think about it, I literally just ate dinner, had a two servings of a huge to meet my calories, and I still feel like I've snorted coke or something. Like I feel really, really great. Whereas normally before, when I was stuck in the mindset of like, I need a work-life balance, after dinners and things along those lines, I would feel the need to be in a lower energy state. Whereas in reality, that's just not the case at all, right? So yeah, one thing that I've realized is I'm not a person who likes taking things in moderation. I'm not a person who really is suited to taking things into moderation. So rather than trying to combat that nature, I'll just lean into it and work whenever I want to work, play whenever I want to play, but still kind of be focused on a longer term goal, I guess. Now, if you came to this video, you know that I like to give some actionable, I guess like bits at the end of every single video. And the thing that I could I tried to like create a trademark, like a Boyan saying, right? Like a Boyan quote for the end of this video. And I just can't think of any other thing than just do it, right? Like Nike's quote, right? Just do it. Whatever you want to do, just do it in the moment and don't really hesitate too much and just take extreme action. The shorter the delay between the thought and then you taking action, the shorter the delay between the desired outcome, right? So just do it now, and don't think too deeply into it. If you are sure that this is an action that is going to like drive you forward, just do it. Okay. So second point is going back to what I said earlier about moderation. If you're just not someone who likes taking things in moderation, and if you see patterns in your life where you just go super, super deep and then you pull back, right? And you just like go on polar opposites of extremes, that means you're not a person that's suited to having like a quote unquote work-life balance, right? So if this is not you, just lean into that urge to do whatever you want and make sure it's somewhat aligned with kind of like your longer term goals, right? Now, that actionable bit could be wrong because it's not super highly tested by myself or others around me, but it's been working for me, at least for the kind of like past few months, extremely, extremely well. I've been able to get up at 6 a.m. with only maybe 7 hours of sleep and bust out an entire day's worth of work, and I don't feel too mentally drained, and I don't really feel depressed or like anxious or whatever. Like I used to maybe get 7 hours of sleep, see my aura score dip below 70 and be like, this is gonna be a shit day, right? And then that actually sets the tone, and then I kind of like manifest a shit day ahead. So that's why I stopped tracking it, right? I just don't care anymore. I feel energized pretty much all the time. I eat a fairly good diet and I track my macros. Third thing, right, is say no to random money-making opportunities as a default. So I've really started to do this in the last, I'd say, few weeks or so. There's been a few opportunities crop up and that I've just said no to because it doesn't align with my goal of scaling my agency up. Right? And one thing I heard from a mentor of mine is that up until around the 7 figures point, the bottleneck majority of the time is actually you personally, right? And so obviously I'm not 7 figures yet, so it's not my word, it's from someone who actually is in the 7 figures. And he said that the bottleneck is normally you. You need to find a way to scale yourself from a skill perspective, a value perspective, which often means you need to ascend into skills like recruitment, hiring, managerial, kind of like leadership positions. But most of the time, up until around the 7 figures point, it's normally always you, right? And that really hit me because for a while, I even contemplated maybe switching models because I thought, you know, the agency done for you model is not the best way to go about it. Maybe it's done with you, maybe it's consulting. However, what's going to happen is that you're going to pursue other opportunity vehicles and you're going to just scale to the point where you were before, face the same issues and still hit the same ceiling, except you would feel good about it because you would go from 0 to where you were in a much quicker time because you already have acquired kind of like the skills and the knowledge to get to that certain level, right? So right now, this year, my main focus is to break past my current skill limits. And my current skill limits, I'll be honest, is like recruitment, hiring, finding the right compensation plans for employees, and basically just taking risk on my business, like actual risk, right? In terms of making hiring decisions, things along those lines, because that's the only thing that's going to kind of like help me break this invisible barrier, right? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. For those of you that actually watched to the end, I'm really grateful for your time. And I hope it's been transparent and you found it helpful to see someone else who you, as cringe as it sounds, some people actually look up to me, right? Like, but if I am someone who you look up to and you think I'm a fucking G and don't make any mistakes, right? I literally I wasted so much time last year because of the mistakes I outlined in this video. And I really hope it's gonna save you a few months by you watching this video. So yeah, see you in the next one. If you're new, subscribe. I'm gonna be posting more kind of like e-commerce, agency related content, and as well as like more general business kind of thing, just because I'm super passionate about the space. And I really see myself running businesses for decades and decades to come. And yeah, it's pretty enjoyable for me. So yeah, cool. Have a good one.